All right, so today we're going to go over how to develop a growth strategy. The QR code on the top left, if you scan that or if you look at the link in your chat, it'll give you access to the presentation that I'm showing to you right now currently. Right. Get past this. You guys already got the gist of who I am. This is just additional information. So, diving into the general statement of what growth strategy is, and essentially, growth strategy is a roadmap for your business future. And you can kind of start currently where you are and where you want to be. And what the growth strategy is going to do is going to give you key points on that path from point A to point B so you can get that objective to scale and to grow. In today's lesson, what we're going to go over is two key components of growth strategy, which is business modeling and growth matrix. So in business modeling, we're going to go over these 12 core items. We're talking about value propositions, unfair advantages, customer segments, channels, customer challenges, customer solutions, key activities, key resources, cost structure, revenue stream, and vision and goals. And in the growth matrix, we're going to go over, looks like I forgot to put that in there. So I'll just tell you that as we get to it. So first and foremost, what is a business model and what is the lean canvas? And if you're in that presentation, you could definitely click on that link to download the visual, or you can hit that QR code to get that as well too. So the lean canvas is essentially a business model, a growth strategy tool that is utilized instead of creating 25 pages or a 40-page business plan or business proposal. You should be able to itemize out what you're doing, where you are, where your money's coming from, what your cost structure looks like, who's your customer segments, all on one page. And it makes it really easy for you to kind of see where things are broken. And obviously, if you're missing any of these components, why? And then kind of fill in those blanks. So, number one, value proposition. And essentially, the core of a value proposition is multiple different things. It's a promise to your clients. It's also part of your vision statement and your mission statement. So, the key takeaway I want you guys to think about in this is what is your value proposition currently? And I'm going to do case studies as we do this. In this particular case study, we're going to be talking about Coca-Cola. So if you look to the right of the screen, you can see Coca-Cola's vision essentially is their value proposition, and they're here to essentially provide a service through drink, and through that drink essentially create a happy emotion. Two is an unfair advantage, and unfair advantage is essentially something that everyone should have. If you don't have trademarks, if you don't have patents, you can essentially have things that competitors may not have access to. Competitors may not have your trade secrets. And ideally, the more of these unfair advantages you have, the higher conversion and the better off you're going to be in the competitive market. If we're looking at Coca-Cola again, obviously they have patents and they have trademarks essentially on everything from their formula to their bottles. So again, Pepsi can come in with something very similar, but they'll never be able to have the signature Coke bottle. That is an unfair advantage for Pepsi because everyone recognizes the Coke bottle by default, and they can use that for marketing purposes and get the upper hand. A takeaway for this is something I want you guys to think about. What can you do to get your unfair advantage if you don't currently have one in your market sector? Three, customer segments. Now, this is something that, if you're a marketer and you're talking about target marketing, this is something that you have to like really zone in and get the details right, because again, if you don't have a match, you're essentially talking to the wrong audience. This is why people say Facebook ads don't work. This is why people say Google ads don't work, because they're not communicating with the right people. They're not communicating the right messaging. And essentially, if you understand your core segments of your customer segments and your target audience, then you should be able to communicate with them about their problems and their needs and their requirements. And you also need to figure out if this is going to be POS, B2B, B2C, and you want to have this listed out so that way you know exactly how to communicate with those individuals. In the case of Coca-Cola, they are targeting essentially 10-year-olds to 25, and their secondary market is 25 to 40, which kind of makes sense when their taglines have been something along the lines of "Have a Coke and have a smile," and they've done millions of ads with kids, teenagers, and younger adults in those visuals as well. Your channels. Now, I heard a lot of different like marketers and strategists when we first came on this call. So the channels of communication kind of falls under your wheelhouses, right? So if you're talking about channels of communication, you're talking about Instagram, for example, you're talking about YouTube, you're talking about ad campaigns, you're talking about video, audio, podcasting. All of these are core channels of communication. And again, if you know your customer segments and who you're communicating with, then you should know how to find them and where to find them. Prime example would be Instagram. If you are the particular age group that's on Instagram and you're talking to the right messaging on Instagram, then you should be able to have conversions. Instagram is more of a personal platform. They don't want brands, they want people. So you have to understand the right platform versus the right target market. And if you could look to the right, you can kind of see that Coke does multiple different channels of communication. In this particular example, they're doing ad campaigns, they're doing TV marketing, and they also do sponsorships, and their sponsorship range wide from NASCAR to NBA and the Olympics. A key takeaway from this one, I want you guys to think about your channels as a functionality. What channel are you using to educate? What channel are you using to advertise? What channel are you using to just communicate? And figure out, are those channels actually working for you? If they're not working for you, you're not getting conversions, then you may be using the wrong channel, or you may be communicating with the wrong individuals on those channels. Customer challenges. Now, this one is obviously goes back to your value proposition. Whatever your value proposition is, it should be something in the core lines of a customer's challenge, because then you're going to apply the solution to whatever that challenge is. So you need to figure out, what does your product or service essentially help that customer with. On the case of Coke, for example, they had issues with sugar. People were complaining about the too much sugar, and obviously they're targeting kids, so parents were complaining about the high sugar count. So that's a huge problem for Coke. So how did Coke solve that problem? Going into the solutions, Coke solved that problem by creating Coke Zero, right? It's a simple fix. They didn't really change anything but remove the sugar and change it with something else. And now they can say that they have sugar-free items with the same exact taste. And again, they're still talking to the same community of people. So sales will continue, because they're saying, hey, we heard your voice and we're fixing the problem that you were complaining about. But we know you still love our taste. You know you still love our flavor. And we're still delivering that same exact value to you. 7, key activities. Now, key activities is something that, obviously, if you're a LinkedIn specialist, you're always writing content. If you're a roofer, you're always working with your team to fix the roof, or a plumber. Like, those are your key activity, things that you need to do day to day, and without doing them, you would not get paid, right? So in Coke's example, a key activity for Coke would be their distribution. And Coke is a worldwide distributor. And obviously, if their distribution channel was to break, Coke wouldn't exist. A key takeaway from that one, I want you guys to think about, what key activities are you doing right now to help expand your value proposition. 8, key resources. And I always look at key resources. It could be a person, it can be a system, it can be automation, it could be a robot, whatever that key resource is that allows you to do what you do at scale, or be able to scale into it to make whatever you're doing easier for you and for your staff, but still deliver the exact value to your clients that they have grown accustomed to. In the case of Coke, they have mass automation systems and robotics in their warehouses to deliver the products that we're buying through the distribution channels. So they have bottling automation, they have mixing automation, they have packaging automation, they have all these different systems in place. Without those key resources, they would not be able to deliver the value that they're delivering at scale. 9, key partners. Key partners is essentially one of my favorites, because again, we're all networking. So as we are networking, essentially everyone on this call with each other is a key partner. You just need to figure out, what does that key partnership look like. Prime example, someone can be specialized in Facebook, someone else can be specialized in Google. How can they work with each other? Well, one client on one hand may want Google services, but you specialize in Facebook. So now you have a partner, and then you can kind of share the same clients between both options back and forth. So key partnerships is definitely something that's key, and it's king when it comes down to growth strategy. The only way you can really grow without putting a huge chunk of money into anything is to find a key partner, or find another distributor, or find another person that has what you need and you have what they need, and you guys could exchange services and grow and scale that way. In the case of Coke, there's billions of examples. In this particular example, which probably most people didn't know, that Coke and Tic Tac had a partnership, and they had a Tic Tac that was Coke. Sounds crazy, but it goes back to their branding, right? If you're going to do branding, and again, they're both sweet items, what would it look like to have a Coke flavored Tic Tac? Well, it actually exists. And again, they've branded into another marketing sector by doing that as well. Cost structure. So this GIF is a pretty funny GIF because again, essentially is like, where are you burning your money? Where essentially are you hemorrhaging, or can you stop hemorrhaging of that burn? Can you consolidate? Could you then partner with someone to alleviate some of that cost structure burn that you currently have? In the case of Coca-Cola, they look at their cost structure essentially associated to their expenses, their cost of doing goods, which obviously if you're looking at your bottom line, that definitely would work in that situation, but you always have to be mindful that your revenue is going to outweigh your costs. If your cost outweighs your revenue, then you're upside down and you have a serious problem, and hence why we're talking about being able to grow into that system to where you have more money than costs. Going into revenue streams, and again, this is your services, this is your products. What are you selling? How are you selling it? What are you charging? Is it reoccurring? Is it month to month? Is it per project? Is it per service? All these different things are essentially revenue streams. And then understanding that, Coke's revenue stream, I mean, I think last year they crossed over $30 billion in revenue, right? So looking at that mass amount of money for sugar water, as it's called, think about what you can do with your business or service if you're looking at all these different key components that we're talking about today. And last but not least is the vision. Like, what is your purpose statement? Like, again, you have your vision statement, but your purpose statement is essentially a bit different. It kind of outlines and states your goals for your company and the goals of your aspirations for what you want to do with your particular clients. And obviously with Coke, their purpose statement is essentially to refresh the world and make a difference. So I'm going to go to this. This is a general recap. So I want you to kind of look at this as a summary of what the business model should look like. So when you're looking at this from a bird's eye view, you can kind of, again, you guys have this document now, so you can print it out and you can start filling in the blanks with your company information, see what holes you have, and if you have any holes, then you want to fill those holes in. And then when you look at it from this top point of view, you can kind of see what's going on. Prime example, if I'm talking to age 10 to 25 and I'm saying 0 calorie, sugar free, well, how do I market that? Right, that goes back to my channels. Okay, so I'm doing it on ads on TV. Okay, well, where are those ads going to be? Are those ads going to be on Nickelodeon, or are those ads going to be on HBO Max? That's how you kind of get to the root of your marketing strategy, your brand equations, and all these different things that we all talk about. But this is the core behind the scenes of how they really work and how they're going to work if you apply this particular model. So diving into the growth matrix, and originally it was called Ansoff Matrix, and it's essentially it's a great tool. And once I break it down for you guys, you'll see how this really works with the business model hand in hand. So there's a link on here, or you can scan the QR code if you want to go ahead and download this one, or if you already downloaded the other one, it's page 2. So market penetration, right? And this is when I really get excited, because the business model is something that's like very transparent, but this is where you can kind of really get creative with your information. So if you're looking on the left hand side, you can see it's a live market and it's your live product, right? So we're talking about our current products and our current customers, and then what we're doing is applying our value proposition and our customer segments to this particular block. So how do we then scale and move that down the pipeline? How do we sell more product to that individual if we're already selling to them? In the case of Coke, they've done more so a plan of packaging strategy, right? They're selling the same exact product, but they're selling it at different sizes and different shapes. Again, they didn't change anything besides the packaging. But that gives the opportunity to say, hey, well, people are complaining about sugar, but they still want the same exact original taste. Well, they don't have to drink a 16 ounce. They can get an 8 ounce. Or if someone wants a 22 ounce, they have that option, right? So the only thing they've done here is just made variables of packaging to supply the demand and the requirements of their particular target audience. And that's part of market penetration. For you, what I want you to do as a key takeaway for this one is think about, like, what product or services do you currently have and selling to what particular customer, and how could you repackage that or scale that to the same exact customer to get more sales. Market development essentially is your new market with your current product, right? And in addition to this, this is where you apply your unfair advantages and your key partners. What does that look like for Coke? Well, for Coke, well, they partnered with Marvel, and they also did a brand marketing strategy to where they were saying, okay, we want to talk to new people. Let's put their names on the bottles. So if you look at it from a standpoint, let's say they've done the case study research to figure out there's so many Joannes in the world, but there are only so many Joannes buying Coke. Let's make a bottle with Joanne on it. And again, it's the same exact product, but they're talking to a new community. It's the same thing with the actual Marvel cans. The Marvel cans essentially is the same exact Coke. The only thing they've done was change the exterior packaging to target that new demographic or to scale to utilize that key partner of Marvel to get their target audience to bridge into what they're selling and promoting. It's much like podcasting. If I'm interviewing you and then you interview me on your podcast, vice versa, both our audiences will multiply because your listeners are going to listen to me now and vice versa for you. And the cool thing about this GIF, and I want to bring this to your attention, if you look at this GIF, you can see like they're trying to force feed the baby with Google, and what they're doing is saying, okay, hey, here's YouTube, and then they're going to switch the YouTube out for Google. That's exactly what we're talking about with market development. It's essentially the same product, you're just reskinning it, and you're giving them an opportunity to adapt to something that they may visually like, or they may be appealed to that statement or that messaging versus what you originally had. Product development. Now, product development. This is the gift on this one is funny in the sense that this is free samples, and you see it all the time. They'll give you free samples all day, all night, even down to liquor. They'll give you free samples because they're testing the market. Again, they're giving you a new product, but they're talking to their original community, right? So in this one, you want to look at it as what's the customer challenges and what's the customer solutions that they're looking for. Because again, they're telling you what they want. You don't have that product. You're taking that feedback from the business model and then you're creating new products for that original audience to satisfy those gaps so that way they don't move to your competitor. In the case of Coke, you could obviously see that Coke has jumped on the bandwagon across the board with everything from water to club soda to coffee. In addition to it, you can obviously see when Coke Zero Sugar came out, they had freebies with that as well, to where you can actually talk to your voice activated device and tell it something, and then it would deliver that to you, which is crazy what technology has come to. But keep in mind, all they're doing is old school product development. And last but not least, which is probably the most risky of them all, but with more risk you get more rewards. So in this one, you're looking at a new market sector and you're looking at the new products. Obviously, you can increase revenue and you could attain and reach your goals a lot faster if you do this. In the case of Coke, they have diversified into products, merchandising. In London, they opened up a new storefront just for clothes. And again, Coke is a drink, but they found the market sector was wanting and requiring it. They've done test marketing, they've done merchandising, and to the point to where then they have a merchandising storefront. You can go in and buy a Coke hoodie, which is crazy when you think about it. So the recap of the growth matrix, if you're looking at it from a standpoint of this viewpoint, you can kind of see, okay, well, ages 10 to 25, they're giving different size Cokes. The secondary market, they're putting their name on it. Parents are complaining about sugar. Let's give them Diet Coke, Coke Zero. Related diversification essentially is saying that it's a new product for a new market, and in this case would be sport players with like the power drinks. And then last but not least is unrelated, which we talked about, which is essentially merchandising, which has nothing to do with the original product whatsoever. So when you're looking at your business, obviously you're going to start in the top left quadrant. You're going to fill in your customer segments, which you already done on your growth strategy, right? Your lean canvas. Then you'll move down to your market development. Try to figure out, well, how can I still sell this product to someone maybe a little bit different, a little bit older, or maybe in a different marketing sector. Then you move into product development, right? This goes back to your frequently asked questions. This goes back to Q&As. This goes back to testimonials. When you capture that data, then you want to take that data and see, okay, 10 out of 100 people are saying that I'm missing this or I didn't hit the mark on this. How do you fix it? That's your new product development. And then last but not least is essentially you're testing the market and you're testing a new product. So going into closing, I think we're well within the 30-minute window. If you got value from the presentation, I would definitely, if you don't mind, scan this QR code. I'd love to get the feedback. And again, I take these feedback very seriously, and I take that and then I build more content based upon that. And last but not least, do you have any questions?
That was awesome essay. Thank you. So one of my questions for you is, are you doing this with clients? Are you taking them through this process?
Yep, yep. The only reason why I didn't use my client stuff because obviously privacy policy. So this is the process that I go through with virtually all my clients. So usually what I'll do is a 1 hour consult up front. In that 1 hour consult, they're gonna go through a form and they're gonna fill out everything that I'm asking for as far as their value proposition, how long they've been in business, are they a LLC, are they a S corp, and then all that data will come into me. And then what I'll do is take that data and regurgitate it and twist it and manipulate it and modify it to then create their growth matrix. Because there's things that, from a creative standpoint or a creative vision, I can see and say, okay, you know what, your commonality is 3, 4, 5, and 6, but you're not talking to this one item right here. Why don't we start communicating with them? Why don't we create something for them? And that can be merchandising, that can be courses, that can be online videos, it could be anything. But again, I need that data to be able to create them their growth strategy plan.
Gotcha. And will you help them walk through the 10 steps on page 1 to help them create the plan, which to me is what looks like page 2 is?
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Okay.
mean, every aspect of it, like I said, the first part is just the consult, and at the end of the consult, you're gonna walk away with those 2 sheets completely filled out and your game plan. And the game plan comes down to that growth strategy. So when you're looking at the growth strategy, someone may say, "Hey, I wanted to build an app." And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have an app right now, so essentially that's a new product. But are you using that new product for a new market, or are you using that new product for your existing clients? So then that goes to the question, okay, what are you delivering to your existing clients through that particular new app? Somebody may say, I'm a course creator or I'm a coach. Great. So there you already have content. So the only thing we're looking at now is creating an app utilizing your current content and structuring it. And then on the other hand, once they get to that point, they say, okay, you know what? Out of these 8 things that we came up with on the growth strategy, they may raise their hand on 2 items. And then that's when my agency will come in and say, okay, we'll execute the app for you, or we'll execute whatever the services that you need based upon where you want to go.
Awesome. Thank you. Gang, does anybody have any questions or comments?
I
Do
think
we?
the content was great. I think, using Coca-Cola as such a recognizable brand was, a really smart choice because everyone understands and can follow along. So I think for me, not having a product and being more of just a service provider, I have to think about it and go a little deeper, but I appreciate the PDFs. It was a great setup.
Great. And services work the same way as products. I mean, it just you have to look. I mean, prime example. I've been working with someone recently that essentially it's a writer, and that's their service. So from that information, what we derived is okay. Now, what you need to look at is what kind of writer are you? Are you a writing coach, or are you a writer to write books? And are you selling the books? And once we made that division of that service structure of whichever way that they wanted to swing, then we went into okay, creating coaching programs or creating workshops or creating online free checklists and things along those lines. But again, we would not have gotten to that point until the first 12 steps were made.
And we will be able to click on the links that's in the chat to look at this again. That was a lot of information. Thank you. But so much so, I feel like I need to look at it again to really digest it.
Yep. So the link in the chat takes you back to the general presentation. And this is why I record these videos, because I know I put a lot of information into them. So that way you can go through and pause it, rewind, and take every single step at your pace.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, and I downloaded the PDF already, guys. So I will put it in our Southern Maryland Moneymakers Google shared drive as well.
Sorry, I already put it in there.
Because you a boss secretary, that's why.
This was a great presentation. I wish I was more coherent today. because, and I'm glad that you gave us those slides to be able to go back and review. I think, you know,
There we go.
it's the way that it's put together is very valuable.
Yeah, for sure. And let me unblur my background. Matt had came in, but essay. 1 share of Coca-Cola.
Mm.
My husband loves Coke so much that I found this website in 2002 called oneshare.com, and you could buy 1 share of something. So they wrapped it in a plaque. I mean, this just goes to like that branding and the love of a brand. And so I said, Merry Christmas 2002. Even when your fridge is bare, you will always have 1 share.
Very cool.
Yeah, Coke's at $62 right now. So
Well, and I've
Yeah.
had this share for 20 years, so hopefully I have gotten some dividends. I don't even look.
Yeah, that's a good payout.
For sugar water.
I'm of the zero, but that campaign, the one summer they did have a Coke with and everybody's name was on it. Like I would find my friends' names and give it to them, or, find my own name. And then Royal Caribbean took it one step further and got the smaller cans and did share a Coke with a travel agent. So I have that can still, like I didn't throw it away.
Yeah, and I mean that goes back to creative marketing, right? And creative branding as well. And that's another partnership that, the Royal Caribbean wasn't even in the equation, and then somebody raised their hand and said it made sense to them, right? So again, guys, I think like the moral of the story is like there's so many different opportunities out there as far as when you go back to the key partnerships, you're just gonna have to kind of think outside the box or essentially hire someone to help you see those opportunities because a lot of times you may not be thinking about them.
Yeah, my takeaway from this is I filled in 2 of my blocks on the first page just because while you were talking, they came to me pretty quickly, and that was key partners. And for me, it wasn't people that I was thinking of, but it was brands. So who are my key partner brands that I work with? And I've got Sandals Resorts, Palace Resorts, Southwest Airlines, and Charisma, and they're my key partner brands. And so my challenge to myself and thought is, how can I use them towards more of that marketing strategy and catching the audience through the channels, and then what resources can they give me? And then the other block that I was really focused on, and it's something I've been thinking about for quite some time, and just now that I kind of got 2 weeks of my life back, I could take a pause and start thinking of some stuff, is those revenue streams, right? So for those of us that are service providers and commission generated, right? So if we don't sell something, we don't get paid. There's no salary involved. So what other revenue streams do I have? Obviously professional service fees is top of the list in my industry now. But I know some of us in the Zoom room here, we don't charge those, or you can't charge those based on your industry. But then it was affiliations. And so one of the things that I'm working on as a extended revenue stream is being an affiliate partner with Amazon and finding my top 20 travel products or my favorite sunscreen or, packing cubes or whatever it is that I think is great that you must have as a traveler, and then promoting that through that Amazon affiliation. And then my newest favorite is Blender sunglasses. So working on that as an affiliation. And then I think SAU and I talked about this, probably in the first few months that I had met you, and as the travel club membership. And interestingly enough, when I was at conference in Denver, one morning at breakfast, this guy sat down, and he's in the Dallas area, and he has a travel club membership of like 10,000 people. And so now I'm like, I shortly picked his brain when we were there, So I got some good nuggets to kind of figure out how could I create some kind of travel membership that's a monthly membership that ends up, or a yearly one time, that that if you're part of this membership, you get, you know, 1 full week of net rate trips a year. So basically I don't get a commission on it, but you're getting an amazing savings. We do an exclusive trip, which you had mentioned. So yeah, so lots of things to start to think about. And that's why I asked, like, do you help people work through the sheet? Because some of it I'm just like, I just can't even think.
Yeah, I think you're definitely on the right path. I mean, if anyone on this call, and I think everyone on this call, if you're not having any affiliate associations or affiliate deals, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And think of it as like, I'm a podcaster. One of my things that I do every time I interview someone in my form, my intake form, I always ask them, do they have any affiliate deals, any affiliate offers? Because by default, if I'm going to put them on my show, only thing I have to do is put that link in my show notes, put that link in my YouTube channel. So over a period of time, it may be 5 years down the road, somebody may find that video, somebody may listen to that episode, and somebody may then convert. But I don't have to think about it. It's just I may get 50%, I may get 30%, I may get 10%, whatever else it is. And the other thing too, if you're in multiple different groups, right? Let's say, for example, if you're in a group with like-minded individuals and somebody's asking you for something, they may ask you for a particular software or a particular service. By all means, if you start signing up for all these affiliate deals, and again, 9 out of 10 websites at the bottom of every single page, there's usually an affiliate link, including Amazon, including Walmart, including Target, including all of them. So you could easily then create these affiliate links, and if somebody asks that question, you just give them that link, and you're getting paid just for passing on that information.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to get passive streams of revenue. For sure. Marion, I think that's something that, you know, you could really look into as far as with the association and you know, bringing people in or being part of other organizations. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but I know within the SCN family, we definitely have people that can help, you know, figure that out. Does anybody else have any more questions before we kind of go around the room and do our shout outs and takeaways? No, all good. Mind blown, overwhelmed. Maybe we can use some of this information as some roundtable topics or some brainstorms as we go over our meetings in the next few weeks. So I want to thank you very much for doing this for us today. I'm very honored to know you and call you friend. And I look forward to seeing you in person again in September.
I appreciate you having me as well. Hopefully, I gave you guys something to think about. And again, I mean, these things are not as hard as they may seem. And I know I gave a lot of information, but take them in small bites. And the only thing I ask is just do something with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you want to stop recording now or keep rolling?